edition of the Pick and Downs podcast. I'm your host, per usual, Sean Tyson, here with Zoo and Peepush. How you fellas doing?
Doing well, man. I got caught with the flu over the past weekend, man, but the only medicine that I needed was the Chicago Bears dub, and especially that Ben Johnson locker room talk after, man. Dude, that inject that right in my veins, man. We got to legit. I saw a side-by-side of Eberflus and then his. Man, someone put a comment on it, and they were like, Eberflus looks like he's about to pull up a PowerPoint, in the middle of the locker room. I couldn't believe it, man, but hey, it felt good as a Bears fan to finally have a little joy in the 2025 season. I know it's the Cowboys, but, man, they pulled out all the stops. I thought this was going to be a bit of a shootout. Obviously, at least I now know that they're better than the New York Giants. I'll take that, take that with a grain of salt. But, hey, man, they had some really fun plays to watch. DeAndre Swift almost blew that flea flicker play, man. He probably lobbed it up in the air like he was shooting a jump shot. But he got it down there to Luther Burden. Good to see him getting involved. Obviously, the tight ends as well. But it was a solid weekend, man. Crazy end to the noon slate, man, in red zone, dude, with all those blocked kicks. Returned. Obviously, the Eagles won. That if you had Rams plus 3.5, I feel bad for you, man.
That is the worst beat ever.
Yeah. I mean, he didn't even need to do it, right? Like, he didn't even have to, but he wanted to. Mm-hmm. Just absolutely devastating for any bettors out there that took that side of the coin. But yeah, really, really fun week. Last night's game was fantastic as well. Two juggernaut offenses, with one of them coming up a little short, man, in Lamar Jackson and the Ravens. So we got a couple teams, man, that are putting themselves in a little bit of a hole.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Yeah, this weekend of football was great, especially with the kicking and the block punt, the special team plays this past weekend. I thought it was like pretty historic of some of the number of block punts. I've never seen so many block punts, especially back-to-back games. I feel like it was like every other game there was some crazy block punt that special teams doing, but that changed a lot of games and outcomes. But one thing I noticed is a lot of injuries this past weekend.
That too.
Like a lot of injuries. It's like the first big weekend of injuries. Like the first 2 weeks was nothing too crazy, but now we've seen some bigger injuries that happen. But I'm still, even with the CD Lamb injury, my team still survived 3-1 this week. So that's all I can ask for. I just got to tread some water with my number one first round pick out. Good thing I got George of the Jungle, George Pickens, taking his spot as that wide receiver 2 position. So he could hopefully buy me some time. But high ankle sprains are no joke. And if you got CD Lamb, you got to find some guys on waiver to buffer some time for you, because it might be 4 weeks. Like, he might be an IR candidate. I'm hoping not. Yeah. I think they mentioned 2 weeks at the minimum, but based on the high ankle sprain, it looked awful. It looked like it might have been like a season ending like that. It was pretty gruesome to watch. I was shocked he came back in for that one. Like, I was like, what's this guy doing? He's like back in already. I'm like, is he just a superhuman? But nah, he tried to run one play in, couldn't get any speed in his legs, so he's probably gonna be out for a couple of weeks. But outside of that, man, some Monday Night Miracle did happen this past weekend. This past Monday. Like, there was a lot of scoring. So if you had any of the Ravens or Detroit Lions, they probably helped you get the dub. They probably helped you get the dub.
Yeah, that's a Monday night match we love to see.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, high scoring, high octane offenses. But yeah, speaking of just the injury front, waiver wire acquisitions is, something that, depending on the size of your league, can make and break you in the win and loss column, especially early, like those first 3 to 4 weeks. If you're able to maybe find that rookie that's coming on strong, or find a veteran that's having a little bit of a throwback, you are probably putting yourself in a good position to make it to the playoffs. And for example, like with receiver, the guy for the Titans, like everybody's like, this is Ridley's breakout year. Now this rookie from Stanford, I think it was from Stanford.
Alec Iomanor, man.
Yeah, Alec Iomanor. It's like, bro, he's putting up solid receiver 2 numbers. And some would argue like he's trending towards being Cam Ward's favorite option. Now, Calvin Ridley is still there, and we'll see how that goes. But if you're able to pick him up maybe a week or two ago, depending on the size of your league, or he might still be available, that could be someone who could substitute in for, CD and not put up the same numbers, but, have something in there as a placeholder. So fantasy is something that we all are always churning and figuring out, either trades or waiver wire acquisitions. So that's something that is a big focus of this podcast. But kind of want to get into the, talking points right now, and I know it's early in the football season, but there's been two particular quarterbacks that's been playing very well in Baker Mayfield and Justin Herbert. And I kind of wanted to ask the guys, if you had your choice, who would you want to go with for the rest of the season? And P-Bush, you go ahead and take it from here.
I'll put this out there real quick. You're talking from an actual gameplay point of view, not just fantasy.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. That's how I was going to approach it, but just wanted to make sure. Because both these guys are absolutely cooking. I mean, for different reasons, ironically. Last year, we saw this Bucs offense go absolutely nuclear, right, in the passing game. I mean, Baker was, 40 touchdowns at the end of the season.
Yep.
I don't know his exact yardage total, but I'm sure it was well over 4,000.
4,500.
It was only 3,500?
4,500.
There you go. Okay,
Clear
so
season.
truly nuclear, right? And obviously we know the reason there. Ironically, without Chris Godwin for most of the season, right? It was really just Mike Evans, and then kind of unfortunate for this guy, man, that they drafted Emeka Egbuka, but Jalen McMillan was actually very good for them last year, and it's now kind of been relegated to that wide receiver 4, wide receiver 5 spot. But this year, Bucky Irving, he's getting the job done. They're having struggles in the red zone a little bit. That's kind of what I've noticed, unless they're throwing to Egbuka. But most of his touchdowns are kind of from 20 and out. Yep. You've seen a lot of his throws kind of in that intermediate to long range. Maybe not a true deep ball, but, that 20 to 35-yard range is usually his bread and butter. But for Baker, man, he's got, he's only thrown 600 yards. He's averaging only a little over 200 a game, 6 touchdowns, no picks, no fumbles. And I think with that, what's thrown me off the most is he actually has like 120 rushing yards. And that was going to be my biggest point, is that he's been running the ball a lot more this year, mostly out of need, which is really not what you want to see. I know they just lost Mike Evans for, once again, Zoo. He's kind of got on the cusp of.
I feel like he does this every year, though. It's like
I feel like he had a hammy last year, too. He missed a couple of weeks.
Yeah. He did. And it's every year since he's probably been about 27, 28 that this has happened. Yeah. But he always comes out. He still has a solid season. He'll probably still give 1,000. And we know what Egbuka is now, but with Mike Evans out, we're really going to see what Egbuka's made of, right? Because he's going to get all the attention from defenses, but he's also going to get the majority of the targets. These next few games are huge for them until Godwin comes back, right? I think they were projecting maybe week 5 or 6. Not sure if there's been a huge update on that front. But with Baker, man, I think my concern is just the offense in general. I think as a player, he's doing great. But by running that much, you are putting yourself in some vulnerable opportunities. And he likes to take hits, man, and create hits himself. Yeah. That is asking for some sort of just shoulder issue. We saw him actually having a bit of a hand issue in that Jets game this past week, kind of just like shaking it almost as if he's got a stinger in it a little bit. So, he's putting himself in tough situations. He wants to win, and I respect that. But you look back over in LA, man, and the boy Justin Herbert, man. I'm sorry. I've been a Justin Herbert guy since he came into the league, ever since the Tyrod Taylor punctured lung story. Malpractice lawsuit right there that he actually did file. I actually never knew that. He did file a malpractice suit against that. But when Justin Herbert came in, we saw exactly what he was as a rookie. A lot of people forget, though, I think it was actually his sophomore season that was just as good, if not better, fantasy-wise and individually, statistically. But this year, man, he's averaging like 200, almost 290 yards a game, 2 touchdowns. He's only thrown 1 pick. He does have a fumble as well. He can also get in his legs a little bit, usually around like 20 yards rushing a game. But I think, man, his pocket presence is impeccable. I mean, some of those throws he was making on the run in that Broncos game, especially the one at the end.
Yep. Keenan Allen.
Oh, man, there's not. I know people use this
That's
a lot.
A crazy throw.
But there's not many quarterbacks that can make that accurate throw away from his body, right? Thrown across his body.
With the velocity, that's the most impressive part.
Absolutely. I mean, it's just unbelievable. So, I mean, you look at this offense, he's revitalized Quentin Johnston's career, mainly because well, I shouldn't say that. Quentin Johnston has also revitalized his own career. He's really stepped up on his drop issues. And his yards after contact has been impressive as well. I know everyone probably saw that run that he made after contact for like 30 yards this past game. So he's got 3 weapons. Unfortunately, kind of like I said with McMillan, man, I'm not saying it's as big of a fall off, but Ladd McConkey, man, they got to get him going somehow, some way.
Keenan Allen took his job.
It pretty much did. He's taken all the slots. And if you're a dynasty holder of Ladd McConkey, I don't think you should panic because Keenan has injury issues and he has age issues, right? So this is not going to be a long-term issue. But if you spent he was what?
I remember he was going late second round.
I was trying to get him and couldn't. Yeah.
I'm very glad that I didn't.
I'll just put it that way. I made it that value. I'm like,
thank God. Yeah, there's a few fades that I'm happy about, him being one of them. But you also hate to see it because he is such a weapon for Justin Herbert. So, I mean, honestly, I do see him coming and making a big bounce back. He might be a buy low candidate potentially for fantasy. But Justin Herbert, man, I'm buying all in on him this year. He's gone 3-0 to start the season, all against divisional opponents.
Yep,
the NFL screwed the Chargers over a little bit, giving them 3 divisional opponents right off the bat. But maybe that's also a blessing because they've seen everybody at the beginning. They know what they are. Obviously, teams tend to mature throughout the season, obviously. So when they see them again, respectively, they will be a little bit different, probably a little healthier. On the Chiefs side, they're going to get a lot of guys back in that situation. But Justin Herbert, man, I know I picked the Broncos at the beginning of the season, and they've had some tough losses. They actually played the Chargers the best of the 3 on the road as well. But, man, this Chargers team looks like they might be in contention to win this AFC West this year. And it's really on the back of Justin Herbert. And I also do got to shout out Amari and Hampton, man. Now that he's got the backfield.
Breakout.
And his use in the passing game, once again, now Herbert has another guy that he can throw the ball to comfortably and know that they're going to get solid yardage. So I just think, Baker's having a great season. So is Herbert. I just like the Chargers overall more, and I think Herbert's got it all humming at 110% right now.
I give you that Justin Herbert's situation is better. I give you that his situation is better. But I'm going to go with the guy that is a playoff guy in Baker Mayfield. Like, Baker Mayfield's playoff resume is actually like really, really like impressive for a guy that was given up for the Cleveland Browns and hopped around the league for a couple of years before he got his foot settled with Tampa Bay Buccaneers. But if you look at his statistics in the playoffs, he's 12 touchdowns, 3 interceptions. That's his playoff career numbers right there. 12 touchdowns and 3 interceptions. That's the 40-1 ratio. Like, this dude had 71 QBR, 50 QBR, 61 QBR. So he elevates in the playoffs consistently. So it's not only 1 year of doing this, it's multiple years, multiple playoff games. This is over 5 playoff games where he wasn't in the best situation. Obviously, Cleveland Browns, that was a terrible situation because he was the number 1 overall pick. But even that Tampa Bay situation post Tom Brady, like, it wasn't a great situation, and he's been performing like last year with 147 passer rating in the playoffs. Like, Baker Mayfield, like, low key, he's got that intangibles. Like, I feel like he's got that intangible quality where he's not the biggest guy, he's not the strongest guy, he's not the fastest guy. But I think he has that leadership ability where he has that charisma, the way he talks. Like, listen to interviews, like he's the guy that rallies the troops. Now Justin Herbert's got the tangibles. Like, that dude just 6'6", 240, just looks like a prototypical like stud quarterback. Off the field, got Madison Beer. Like, this guy is winning on and off the field right now. Like, Justin Herbert is cooking right now. In LA, he's in LA, Hollywood right now. So he's obviously having a great season right now. Obviously starting off beating the Chiefs, which is their rival right now, where they always play competitive, but this is like they actually beat the Chiefs in the beginning of the year, where the Chiefs were trying to win that game. That was a high leverage game where actually were fully playing out. They weren't like kind of like Mahomes was fully trying to win that game. So you're looking at that situation as a 3-0 start. They're in position to win the division right now, which was something I didn't predict going into the year. But after beating the Chiefs and the Broncos game was very, very tight. Both games were actually very, very tight, and getting those through. And like, obviously situationally right now, they're on a way to get a potential bye, like a bye if they get it done in this conference right now. So if you give this guy a bye, you're putting in a situation of a clear path to a Super Bowl situation. While if you look at Baker Mayfield's situation right now, you lose a Mike Evans to a hammy injury. So pretty much right now, Emeka Egbuka got to do even more, even though I'm just like, you're asking this rookie right now who has 3 touchdowns, and he is producing at a level where usually rookie receivers in their first year, a lot of the studs, they have a great season. But for your first 2 games and getting 3 touchdowns, that's kind of actually unheard of, like producing that fast that early for a guy that I've had really high expectations. I was thinking like maybe this guy's offensive rookie of the year, but like this guy is producing at an elite level. But now he's going to have full target share load that he might be seeing 10 targets a game without without Mike Evans out there right now. Because as you mentioned, like Bucky Irving, he had a nice solid start. You got to rely on the rushing game more, even though it's not been the best attack, but they airily have to be beaten in the passing game. And you saw Baker Mayfield in a situation where the special team just made a play, got a touchdown. What do? He goes down the field, gets them in field goal range, and wins that game because
what did he do though? He ran for it. He
did run for it, but that's part of his arsenal.
I know, yeah, of course.
That's part of his. But he got, as you mentioned, he got to protect himself. I know he's a physical guy. He likes the hits, but he's got to stay healthy. But like I like that in my quarterback, making the ability to extend plays where he doesn't see anything downfield and getting those 10 yards, getting that first down, extending the play.
Yeah.
And that comeback against I was like, oh my God, because I'm in a survivor pool league. And a lot of people picked the Buccaneers to beat the lowly Jets. And when that miracle punt, like blocked for a touchdown, I'm like, oh my God, this is beautiful. Half the pool is going to get wiped out. But the Bake Show came in, threw that dime to Ibuka. I'm just like, okay, I can't even hate on that because that was an amazing play. So his ability to be calm in situations, and he just kind of, outside of like pressure levels, he just kind of plays the same. As much as I love Lamar Jackson, I feel like when situation gets tenser, he doesn't play as well when he plays looser. While Baker, he's just kind of more steady. He's a steady guy where regardless of situation, he just plays as good as Bake Show does. So what he did last week is incredible comeback, another game-winning drive. So I'm going to lean the Bake Show just because of the intangibles. And in this situation this year, I'm like, I give that Herbie situation might be better, man. But the Bake Show has shown me a lot in his resume in the playoffs. And if he got me the Bake Show in the playoffs and his team is healthy, I give him a great shot to be a pretty good contender.
Especially in the NFC.
Especially in the NFC right now. So
definitely the NFC. If you just look at the Bucs, and I know Mike just got injured, but if you just look at their roster on offense, and to me, Todd Bowles' defenses, name whoever, they're going to have dudes on that side and they're going to compete. Just looking at the paths of both of those quarterbacks, bro, it's like, to Zoo's point, if they get a bye, I mean, I'm not saying that they're Super Bowl contenders, but it would not shock me if they're like, you're looking up like, oh, snap, like they're playing the NFC Championship game against the Lions or against the, Eagles or whoever. And it's like, oh, if I saw that, I would give them a hell of a chance, because it speaks to the point about Baker. Like, I think Baker, I mean, even since college, he's kind of always been like the rah-rah guy. I don't know what just happened to my mic, but he's always been kind of the rah-rah guy. And to me, it's always been like a weird thing where I feel like, can you guys still hear me?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. It always feels like with him, he like flourishes on the, I'm going to be a leader. Like that's his thing. Yeah. And for me, I think, him being a number one pick, and, listen, got a really good friend who's a Browns fan. It just feels like sometimes situations happen. And when you go to a franchise where, if we look at quarterback play, it's not been the best, even if you got all the talent in the world, sometimes you just can't overcome a situation. And to Baker's doing, he was a knucklehead coming out. Like, he was doing crazy stuff. Everybody remembers when he was running around. Like, I think he got arrested on the sidewalk one time and tried to get away from it and all that type of stuff. Like, he was wilding in college. He was living the college life. Like, not as much as Johnny Manziel was, but he was definitely doing it, to a little bit of a little lesser of a level. So to me, I think guys in the locker room don't rally around that. And Baker, to his credit, he's fought. Because, I mean, I think he's had a quote talking about Steve Wilkes, like he cut him in Carolina. Like, he's been persistent. And all it takes is getting with the right head coach. And he got with the right head coach in Tampa Bay, and now he's flourishing. And I like to look at Baker and Herbert from, like how Zeus said, like, I mean, if you're comparing just physical profiles, it's Justin Herbert is truly what you think of like a lab quarterback, of like what you want your quarterback to be when you're building him in the lab and putting him on the field for Sundays. But Herbert, to me, and this is super close, that's why I said it, because you could argue like Quentin Johnson, yes, he takes credit for getting his career back on track, but having a quarterback like Justin Herbert definitely helps. Keenan Allen is something about that powder blue. When he gets back in that uniform, he starts turning up. I mean, Ladd McConkey, even though, this year he's struggling, last year he would burst on the scene. Justin Herbert was his quarterback. Omari Hampton starting to get a breakout. Guys around him play better because of how good he is. I think a lot of the frustration with Justin Herbert was in the last couple of years, it just feels like his stats were limited, and everybody just kept throwing him in the top 10. It's just like, well, you gotta do something in the playoffs. And the last time we saw you in the playoffs, it didn't look as good. So, I think this year he has a really good chance to redeem himself. I just look at Baker as he's a gamer, and like even looking at his stats when I'd written down, like not only did he have 6 touchdowns, 0 interceptions, and he's got pretty good rushing stats, he's got 3 game-winning drives. So it's like that tells me your personality is leveled. It doesn't matter what's going on the other side. I'm gonna get my guys rallied up. We're gonna go on here in the field and we're gonna get down. However, hook or crook, me running the ball, me throwing slants, whatever, we're gonna get field goal range and we're gonna score and we're gonna win. And I think what helps him with that is how his career has gone. Like he hasn't really had the typical number 1 pick career where it's like you just stayed with one team and it's just you flourished and you went whatever. Or you was a first round pick, not necessarily number 1 overall. But he's gone through a lot of hardships. So I think now it just kind of feels like he's playing with house money and he's playing football like that. Now I do agree, people, she needs to stop running. I don't care who you are in this league. Like you gotta, as a quarterback, you're not going to continue to take hits and think you're going to last. I don't care how you're built. You could be Justin Herbert size. It doesn't matter. You can't do that because it being this early in this. Now, if you get to the playoffs, do whatever. If you're,
you do whatever to win.
But yeah, early in the season, you got to understand part of what your role is with the team. And as we see, certain backups in this league, they're not getting it done. So,
but he's had to. I think that's the thing. And I'm looking at his first 3 games is the Jets, the Falcons, and the Texans. Mm-hmm. 3 game-winning drives against those 3 teams. I mean, we were all pretty consensus. Maybe the Falcons a little bit. We were all hyped on Penix at the beginning of the season. But the Bucs are probably going to win that division, right?
Yeah.
But I know the Falcons played better in the week that they played the Bucs than they did last week, right? Well, that was abysmal. Texans, we're going to talk about that in a little bit. And then the Jets without Justin Fields, with Tyrod Taylor, right? Now, I know that they
look pretty decent.
Yeah, he did. Right? He's always been decent, right? He's honestly a big what if at quarterback. He's just never gotten a true chance. But I'm not saying and this isn't on Baker, I think, but it's like Baker's having to do everything in his ounce to get wins against these levels of teams. Well, look at their next 2 matchups: the Eagles and the Seahawks. Those are 2 difficult defenses. Now I know the Texans have a respectable defense, but the Eagles are a different breed, and the Seahawks are actually tenacious on defense this year. Very quietly, a very good defensive team. So I want to see him go against a little bit higher caliber of gameplay. I know you can't pick your schedule. It is what it is.
Yeah.
But we're talking like Herbert he did that to the Chiefs defense, and he did that to the Broncos defense. I know Broncos defense isn't as good as last year, but you still have animals on that side of the ball. So I do love Baker. His intangibles are way better, and his leadership is unmatched. I don't think there's actually another guy that can get troops rallied behind him like that. But he's doing everything in his ounce to get wins over that level of team. So we got to see how he does without his boy Mike Evans too.
Yeah,
that's huge, man.
That's huge loss, especially in the red zone.
And he's not even using K Dotton. Yeah, and he's not even using K Dotton right now. That's the weird part. He didn't even get
his role will increase because
it will.
He's a pretty good tight end. He's like a pretty good tight end.
He dropped the donut last week. I played against him. Thank God.
K Dotton. Yeah, and part of what'll hopefully you would want to see throughout the season is Bucky Irvin, Rachaad White, that combination come back to life because you have 2, like one potential elite back and one really good back. So they need to be incorporated to where they're taking over the rushing yards because, like you said about those defenses. Yeah, just something to where Baker's not having to take a bunch of hits, So we'll see. But, yeah, those 2 guys, if you're Buccaneers or if you're Chargers, you're super excited about the future of your quarterback because you got a lot of wins in your future and you could possibly end up going very far in the playoffs. So we'll see how that happens. But sticking to the NFL, we was kind of mentioning them just a couple seconds ago with the Texans, looking at C.J. Stroud and also looking at another quarterback in the AFC, Joe Burrow. 2 different perspectives, kind of more so with C.J. Stroud, his regression this year. This is going into his 3rd year, so people always kind of expect the sophomore slump. But going into his 3rd year, he's kind of looked like, what's kind of going on? Don't really know what's really happening within the confines of the offense. Versus Joe Burrow, who is, I'm saying this season ending. I know they want to say 3-month minimum, but it's like if you just do a little bit of math, that puts him right around like end of December probably. And if Jake Browning gets them to the playoffs, then salute, brother. Like if you get there with Jake Browning and Joe Burrow comes in to save the day, then he deserves it. Hell, I might just keep Jake Browning in the quarterback if he's getting us to the playoffs. But Joe Burrow with another season-ending injury. So I wanted to ask the guys, which one could you get? I guess you would say you have more concern for CJ's regression or Joe Burrow's injury history. And Zoo, you can go ahead and take this one.
I'm very, very concerned of CJ right now because we went from one of the greatest rookie years ever. Like objectively, it was until Jaden Daniels had a year right after. But we thought this guy's a franchise quarterback. Obviously, he was a number 2 overall pick. He wasn't consensus number 1 overall. So it wasn't like a lock that this guy was going to be a special player. But he turned around this entire Texans franchise in his rookie year with not, to be honest, it wasn't that great of a roster. Yeah, it wasn't that great of a roster. Like a couple guys like Joe Mixon's obviously a good player, but like the roster wasn't like overly stacked. Like he went to a terrific situation. He just came in like
they didn't have Joe Mixon. They didn't have Joe Mixon his rookie year. No.
Oh, his rookie year?
No, Joe Mixon.
I don't know who the running back it was.
I think it might have. Was that the Dameon Pierce year?
Might have been.
Let me look. So keep going. I'll look.
Yeah.
So if you look at a situation and coaching staff, it was like a new coaching staff, like new situation, and he completely turned around the franchise in his first year, which I'm like, okay, this guy might be that up and coming young stud. And then his sophomore year, he wet the bed.
You didn't have him.
You didn't have him yet?
Wow.
You didn't have him in his rookie year.
He did that without a running game. He did that
without a running. Yeah. So if you look at that situation, like phenomenal rookie year, and the second year, I'm like, it fell off a cliff. It fell off every single stat, regressive touchdowns, interceptions, completion percentage. And like, if you look at the situation, I'm like, the sophomore slump happens, okay? Because everybody gets a playbook on you. You're able to analyze them a little more. That rookie year, you don't really know who these guys are. Like we saw Penix last year. He came in and went crazy for a couple of games, but now they got a little more tape on him, and he had one of the worst games I've ever seen. Ever. I don't think it get any worse than that game. But like these games happen right now. So if you're looking at the situation, I'm like, third year CJ Stroud, okay, he's going to regress a little back to where he kind of was in his rookie year, or maybe even slightly below. But right now, he kind of just looks like the second-year guy, and this offense is struggling. Like watching that T-Law, CJ Stroud matchup was absolutely disgusting.
Except for Nico.
Yeah, Nico was able to yak one in, but like if you're looking at these quarterback guys, like that matchup was just not impressive at all. CJ Stroud was missing throws. CJ Stroud looked kind of uncomfortable in the pocket. Like CJ Stroud, I don't know, like post that Caleb Williams. I remember that Caleb Williams like mentor talk. Like he kind of fell off after he was just
try to sun him a little bit.
Big bro.
I got the numbers here, Zoo. Since that moment.
You did. Oh, you have numbers. Okay.
You want to hear this?
I'll let you give the numbers. Give the numbers.
CJ, since that moment. All right. So it's been 20 games if you include this.
Good sample size. Good sample size.
3,800 yards, 19 touchdowns, 15 picks.
15 picks.
Caleb, 4,000, 27 touchdowns, 5 picks. Love this.
You can't sun me if you're like a year or two older than me.
It was
chill
like
out.
He was acting like a Hall of Famer,
Yeah,
man.
you got to chill out.
Yeah, I'm telling you. And I remember like after his rookie year, he was like on a podcast, Bleacher Report with Micah Parsons. He's like talking about, all these NFL stories. And I'm like, bro, you're a rookie, man. Like, what are you doing? You make yourself, you look like a 10-year veteran. Hey, you've seen some stuff. Like, you had a terrific rookie year. But I'm looking at this offense right now. This is the number of points he scored. 9 points against the Rams. Putrid. Like, the defense gave up 14 points. Like, he could have beat them.
Yeah.
Against the Buccaneers, 19 points. Against the Jaguars, 10 points. So clearly, the offense is the issue right now, and you're the captain of this offense. Like, the defense is kind of playing pretty well. Like, this is like, it looks like a pretty, really solid defense. And if you're looking at this division right now, expectations coming in this year was the Texans were the division pick. Like, obviously, I thought the Jaguars was going to be like coming up, but I'm kind of out on that. Even though they're 2-1, it is the most fraudulent 2-1 I've ever seen, because I am so out on this team. And I guess the sleeper pick was the Indianapolis Colts, because that team, like that 3-0, like they actually looked pretty good. Like especially the offensive line play and
the defense.
Yeah, on the defense, like the defensive line, and Danny Dimes actually looking pretty good. But outside of that, like you're 0-3 right now. It's a do or die week against the Tennessee Titans because if you lose to the Tennessee Titans, a team that is struggling mightily right now, especially on offense, it's going to be another ugly battle. But I'm like looking at CJ Stroud, I'm like, he just might be just a guy because physically, there's nothing impressive about a CJ Stroud, like physically. Like I know he's pretty tall. He's like a 6'3" guy, but like physically, he doesn't overwhelm you with his speed or strength or anything like his rushing ability. He doesn't have that outside of his he's a pocket passer. CJ Stroud, he's a pocket passer. He's a prototypical pocket passer in the pocket. And his first year, we saw a little something, but now in his third year, I'm worried about like Nico Collins' production. Like I thought Nico Collins could have a special year, but if CJ Stroud is playing like this, 2 touchdowns, 3 interceptions with a 40 QBR, that is 26th in the NFL. 26th. That's like that is in the bottom 6 quarterbacks right now. I'm like Jesus Christ, and you're playing against not like really great teams. Like outside of the Rams, I give Rams are a great team, but outside of that, I'm like not like great man. Bucks, I give Bucks as a good team. But like that Jaguars performance, watching that, I'm like that's 10 points. 10 points. And obviously he doesn't have a run game right now because you got old Nick Chubb, you got like Woody Mark. That running situation obviously is not
Joe Mixon might be the answer.
But he had a great year last year. Joe Mixon was I know he missed a few games, but he was a league winner last year.
Yeah, Joe Mixon was very productive and CJ was not that productive, but this offense is kind of like falling off without a rushing attack that's viable right now. And like his like the numbers speak for itself. Like he's got like less than 200 passing yards a game right now. So at a 2 to 3 TD to interception ratio, those are just kind of putrid numbers for a guy where, okay, you had a bad year. Bad years happen. But this is the year you get to prove yourself where making last year, that was kind of a fluke. But looking like his first year might be a fluke, which is a crazy thing to say for a rookie quarterback.
I agree, Zoo. I mean, I'm
worried.
I'm leaning on CJ, right? But I think one thing we do got to talk about with both of these quarterbacks, they're both like probably bottom 4 or 5 offensive lines. And I was looking at the ratings for the offensive line because I was more curious about the Texans because we know how the Bengals are, right? And just to speak on Burrow real quick, that's why he has so many injuries, man. He's pushing off. He's got this turf toe thing. We always talk about how beautiful it is to watch Burrow maneuver in the pocket.
Mm-hmm.
If he didn't have to do that and push off and take all these weird angles to get around defenders that are rushing him, or just getting hit in general, when you get hit low, you're bound to have knee injuries, ankle injuries, and he's been prone to that since college. Man, you're going to have these injuries continue to happen for the rest of your career. So I say this to your point and your prompt, Sean. It's more, what are you more concerned with? The cheapness of the Cincinnati Bengals ownership and GM?
Well, that's never going away.
Exactly. Or CJ Stroud's regression, right? Because they have
to be fair, though, they paid their receivers.
I don't exactly.
They gave their money to all the receivers. They just don't have no O-line now. Maybe they use some of that.
And we see why they
O-line,
they might be cheap and incompetent because nobody does that. Nobody else would have did that but the Bengals.
No one else does that. I mean, you could argue the Bears put too much in their weapons and not their all, but they paid their O-line and they drafted their weapons, right?
Facts.
Now, to be fair, they did draft both those wide receivers, but they have done absolutely nothing on the trenches other than at the last horn signing Trey Hendrickson on either side of the defensive or offensive line, doesn't matter. Since that Super Bowl appearance, they have not improved either side of the ball in the trenches. And that is a huge red flag for a quarterback that needs to be protected because of his injury history. And they just don't do it. I have no idea why. So, I am a little concerned there, but I also think at the same time, Burrow's going to be fine. It's just kind of, if you're drafting him in fantasy, just look at what happened last year. If he was injured last year, he'll probably be fine this year. And if he had a great year last year, he's probably going to get
competent backup. That's what you got to get.
Exactly. So you got to get a competent backup when you're drafting Joe Burrow. You got to have a Drake May. Obviously, it'll change for next year. We're not talking draft now, but quality guys in the 9th to the 11th round as a backup to Burrow. But on the Stroud side, man, looking back to the offensive line point, they're the last 3 seasons, even when he was drafted, they had a bottom 10 offensive line. And that's what I was actually shocked about, because I was like, well, they had Laramie Tunsil. Sean, you've mentioned him over the years as being one of the best tackles in the league. They had a guard there too. I'm blanking on his name. But, you know, a solid O-line pieces, but not a full O-line. They fully developed that defense. They went all in on that defense, and we know that that's because of D'Amico Ryans. Defensive head coach. Yeah, I would argue that this Texans team, if they were good, was like a lot of the old classic Bears teams. Unbelievable defense with just mid-average quarterback play. Could never really put it. Their win games 14-9. You know, kind of like the Rams game, but flip it. Right? Solid running game that they're missing this year. But, man, the biggest thing for Stroud, man, his decision-making has been absolutely horrible. Now, he only has really one weapon. Jaden Higgins has not come through as a rookie for them so far. We know he's missing Tank Dell. That's fine, but he was not doing well when Tank Dell was healthy last year either, before his injury against the Chiefs last year. So, man, CJ Stroud, I feel for him, but I also don't, just because of how – I don't want to use arrogant as the word, because he is kind of a quieter guy. Like he wasn't like spouting how great I am, but to Sean's point, he was just kind of trying to sun some people. You know, he's like, oh, let me show you how it's done, young fella. It's like, dude, you're 23, 24. Come on, man. You know, like you didn't even see like Tom Brady doing that till he was probably like 30, you know, and that's Tom Brady, man. So, you know, I think maybe he'll bounce back eventually. I think both teams, whether you're taking Burrow's side or CJ Stroud's side, they need to make some serious changes to where they're investing their money if they really want to protect these quarterbacks and give them the best opportunity. But there's a big difference in play and vision and decision-making between a Burrow and a CJ Stroud, and I don't see Stroud ever reaching that level.
Yeah, Stroud, just in terms of his athletic ability, part of the reason why people loved him at Ohio State and why he was ballyhooed as potentially being a number one pick is it wasn't because of his athletic traits. It was because he was one of – like there are lists that go around in like the college football world where they're like, who are some of the greatest like top 3 or top 4 Ohio State quarterbacks ever? And CJ Stroud's in a lot of those lists. And most of the reason why is because he was just deep ball thrower, slant go, swing. Like he was just accurate as hell. Like that was his calling card. Like he just knew the offense and he could maneuver and just get a bunch of, you know, Ohio State's always got a bunch of receivers, but he can just get those guys in the best possible situation. So to your point, like, you know, looking at Nico Collins that have a good game in the last one, but you know, if you're not looking at the fantasy perspective, CJ is a little concerning because it's like, hey man, like this is your 3rd year. Like normally, like Zoo's point, everybody has a sophomore slump. Now it's degrees of it, but once you get out of that sophomore slump, you kind of get into this space where, okay, now I need to start proving I'm a top 15 guy. And if I have an extraordinary year, I'm a top 10 guy or fringe guy. And normally once you do that, I always have this thing like, I don't know when quarterbacks really start getting paid their second contract, but to me, it's always like you have a great first year or just a good first year. Second year can be whatever. We'll just wash it. And then that 3rd year, if you're just decent to good, you're getting paid the bag. Because in your 4th year, it's just whatever. You can get injured, tear it don't matter. You're getting paid because people's like, oh, he's got a year of like really good tape, and then 3rd year, like you really just need 1.5 years of like being really good. So I think with him, this is kind of that you're in that space now. It's like that 3rd year, come on, like we need to see something. But for me, I went to Joe Burrow just because I've seen this history of him being injured, and it's not just in the NFL. He's had a lot of injuries starting from college. And I don't even want to go through all the college stuff because, you know, it's just college is college. Everyone gets hurt, and it's like it's not really fair to hold that against them versus the NFL. But just even going back when I was looking at his injury history, like we all know about the wrist where he was basically 3/4 through the season and he injured his wrist and he had to leave for the season. So that's still a major injury because it's your throwing hand. But even still, when he had that very early injury, I don't know if that was his second or I think it was his first year. He didn't just tear his ACL. He tore his ACL, PCL, and MCL. So like basically his whole knee was shredded. And I think Chase Younger or somebody was the one that did it. I remember that hit. It was insane. So he had that injury first to begin your year. So he really did, or begin his career. So it really wasn't like, oh, I've kind of gotten my foot into the door and now I get injured. Then he tears his, like I said, he has the wrist ligament injury. You know, like I said, 3/4 of the season doesn't really matter, but still it's on your throwing hand. And you can't tell me that once you have surgery on your wrist still feels the same, even though that next year he threw for however many yards. And then now you're talking about the turf toe. Like I said, I'm calling it season ending. Like, I don't think he comes back. And there has been a lot of internet chatter, and I saw this on TikTok. This is part of the reason why TikTok's growing on my list of like apps I like to get on, because I do learn a lot on TikTok versus the other apps, because there's people just kind of talking about, especially if you're into sports and they're just talking about the sports in general. But they were always speaking to ever since LSU, and part of the problem is because of the guys he's played with, like you had Jamar and Justin Jefferson, all these guys. Sometimes those type of playmakers, you're trying to get them the ball at the last minute because they're probably doing something within their route where they're separating. And Joe has a tendency to hold on to the ball too long. And thinking about it, it's like, well, I mean, if you go into the NFL, he's kind of, I mean, he's got T. I mean, he had T that first year, but he got hurt. But then it's like he got Jamar. He's got all these playmakers. He's still trying to wait till the last minute to see what he can do with the playmakers that he had to make plays. And with that, you're going to get hurt. Now, with the turf toe, it's kind of more of a like, you're pushing off and things just happen. So that's more of a, I guess you could categorize as a freak injury. And even, I guess you could kind of say the wrist was more of a freak injury because it's just like it torn and it's like it's your throwing hand. But it's getting to the point now where he's injury prone. It's just, I don't care how good he is, he's injury prone. And if I'm Cincinnati, which we all know, none of us are Bengals fans, but we all know Cincinnati's not competent, right? We know they're probably, whatever I feel like I could say, like, hey, this is what you probably should do, or a plan you should have in place, they're probably not going to do it. Like I just said a couple minutes ago, love T. Higgins, love Jamar Chase. Obviously, the receiver to pick in that situation is Jamar. It is a reason why you don't pay both guys. But there was also a theory, which this is a little bit off topic, but people have been talking about this with Joe. Like, he's been a quarterback where he's always had elite weapons. And a lot of his success, even though he is a great quarterback, he was in college, had Jamar Chase and Jefferson. Those are two Hall of Famers.
That's insane.
You can't just sneeze at that. That is two Hall of Famers he had. And guess what happened? He was one of the most productive offenses of all time, and they won the championship. Then he gets to, like you said, he gets to Cincinnati. His first year, he's playing whatever. He has T. Higgins, who's a budding star. He's not I don't think a star yet, but he's a budding star. They drafted him before Burrow got there. But there was a situation to draft the next year. It's like, should we take the tackle that's in Detroit, or should we take Jamar? And everybody and their mom was like, we need Jamar because of what they saw in college. And I guarantee you, Joe Burrow was in that office saying, I don't want to see that tackle. I want to see Jamar.
Yep.
This is what you kind of get. And I'm not going to say I don't want to say that he influenced T and Jamar, but it speaks to a lot of people's point, which I never thought about. He's always got to have two number ones. So this is kind of the road you're on. I'm not saying he's kicking and screaming, but theoretically, you're kicking and screaming on the table. You want these two guys. You're not going to have an offensive line, buddy. Sorry. You're not.
You can't pay a stud tackle.
You can't get, and like you said, they try, like, I know a guy, Marius Mims, like, he was one of the freakier tackles that come out of Georgia. Like, his measurements was insane in terms of, like, prototypical right, left tackle, whatever. I mean, I guess he's still young and he's still trying to learn, but that's just like putting like a little bit of a plug into a big hole that's coming through like a river, whatever. Like, that ain't, you put that in the drug plane or the drain, it's not plugging anything. Like, it's just still going to be leaks everywhere. So, what Joe, man, is this is the path that you've taken, and it's kind of just been like and I don't want to say he's influencing it, but I mean, he is the quarterback. So I'm pretty sure they're going to him. It's like, hey, what do you need? And if you go back and look at it, I love Jordan. He's a Hall of Fame receiver. I get it, but it's like, imagine this team if you had T and maybe another, because you can find receivers anywhere. You're not going to find Jamar, but you can find really great receivers. You can kind of almost look at it like with CJ a little bit. Like, CJ got Nico and Tank was or whatever are fine. But it's like if they had a situation where, hey, let's draft another receiver, and they, traded away Larry Tunsil, which they did, but it's like they could have took another tackle or something. Like, to me, with how, especially with a organization like Cincinnati, I do think Joe has a lot to say, and I also think he's from that area. So, if I'm the Bengals brass, I'm not going to let it get public, but I'm looking at quarterbacks. And not just the backup. I'm looking at a quarterback that can maybe play.
Wow.
Like, if Cleveland was located in Michigan, I would be calling the Browns. I would be calling the Browns about Shador. I would. And I know that would cause hysteria, but like, we're getting to the point where Joe, like, he's elite, but it doesn't matter if you're always hurt. And this is not just like, and if I would even go back and look at his college stuff, you guys be like, I kind of agree with you, because his college stuff is not a bill of health. Like,
No.
he's been hurt for a while.
A lot.
And the thing is, it doesn't matter how good you are. You can't just, like, if your tendency is to always hold on to the ball, and I know some of these stuff is freak injuries, but he does take a lot of crazy hits. Like, even that Myles Garrett hit he took, like, a couple weeks before, like, that was insane. Like, a quarterback should not be taking that type of hit. Like, the cool thing about Josh Allen, even though he's a freak, and Lamar Allen, who's a freak, but it's like, the one thing they're great at, and Josh Allen has gotten way better at it, is they don't take major hits, and they're super athletes.
They get the ball
Even
out.
Mahomes don't really get hit either, and he makes big plays down the field a lot too. He don't really get smacked though. And now part of it, Mahomes, if you smack him, it's a 15-yarder coming, so a lot of guys just let up because he's got a little bit of a thing. And Joe's got that too, but even still, like, it's just with Joe, he does. I do agree. Just watching us, and these are clips I saw online, but it's like he does hold onto the ball. So in my whole thing, I'm looking at it as, I love you as a player, but you can't keep missing pivotal parts of Jamar Chase's prime and T. Higgins' prime.
That
Because the defense is already trash. Yeah, if you're going to pay him. And he's got an injury clause, so it's like he's going to get his money. But, I mean, like I said, if I'm the brass, it's about the Cincinnati Bengals. And I love Joe, but, dude, we got to have somebody in here that's going to be – because Jake Browning, he could turn around, but he's not getting it done.
No.
So, like, you kind of got to be in a space just organizationally of, like, we need to have a confident backup. And like someone like Shador, like he might be a bad example. And I'm just thinking of like good quarterback, like a Sam Howell maybe, or like a whoever's a backup right now. Like you need to have a competent backup that when Joe is going to go down
Trubisky.
Again. Maybe. I don't know what his, synergy is with, because the head coach might be on.
Dude, Mitchell Trubisky revitalizing Jamar Chase would just make my year, man. That'd be awesome.
Even like a Jameis, I would not, even though he's older, but I would go get him for this season and get like a real quarterback that can at least get my guy, like my weapons to football. But you gotta, like I said, you're not gonna release this in the press. You're not gonna sit here and be like, oh, we're gonna go take. But next year in the draft, if there's a guy in like the 3rd or 4th round, I'm definitely taking him. And I know that would piss Joe off, but so what? I'd be like, sir, you're not hurt. You're hurt a lot. And you're probably going to get hurt again this year. Sorry.
I just
like I said, if this was any other quarterbacks, like
they don't have the ball. He owns that franchise. I think you already made that point. And that's the fault of the Bengals, right? For not having more
I get why he does. I do get that though, because it
is what it is. Mahomes gets it with blah blah. But I mean, you're right. We just talked about how a lot of people give Trevor Lawrence credit and they paid him because of that one year, right? A lot of people hate on Justin Herbert, and I know we're beyond that at this point. The big thing this year that a lot of people haven't seen is that Greg Roman is actually not running the ball first. This is the first time he's ever done that, so that's why it's shocking because he wasn't in a system. But when Herbert was in a passing system, everyone held against him because he failed in that playoff game, right? Well, when are we going to realize that both of those things for opposite reasons are not, we can't just take that and assume going forward. Joe Burrow has not done much except make that one Super Bowl.
Yeah.
He's not done much except make that one Super Bowl, man.
And be hurt a lot.
And being hurt a lot.
And it's funny and it's crazy too.
He's almost 30. He's going to be 29 in December. He's not going to play again until close to being 30. So
that's the thing. Like, it's not like you're taking a first-round quarterback. You're just taking a competent backup. That's why I was like, if Cleveland was in Michigan or if they was in New York, you can't do it because they're interstate rivals. And if, say, Joe Burrow got hurt again and he medically retired and Shador went to the Bengals and turned up, like, you would never be able to live that down as a Browns fan. But it's just like, I would just be calling around. Yeah, like, I would be calling around. Because it's like, dude, we got Jamar Chase and T. Higgins. I think a lot of quarterbacks, and this is, like I said, I love Joe, but like, I hate when I hear conversations with like, and he turns up. So it's hard to like say he's not as good as like Lamar and whatever. But I laugh when like the GMs are like, I'd rather have Joe than Lamar. Like, all right.
Okay, let me put it this way. If you put CJ Stroud in Cincinnati,
cooking.
Really?
I think he's cooking. I think the only quarterback that's not cooking. I think the only quarterback probably that is not cooking with those two receivers is probably like your most competent backup. I think almost every 32, like 30, what is it, 31, 32?
Geno Smith and younger.
Yeah, like I really do think every starter in the NFL could cook. Like Jamar is
not that
like, we saw it last year. And then I know the O-line, but like, dude, a lot of these guys outside of Joe they're athletes. So like, Lamar, like you. That's what I've always. I
said
literally
Stroud.
always in
I
my
said
group
Stroud.
chat. Yeah, I said
I'm only
Stroud. So
talking
like
about
it's.
Stroud.
But I do think Stroud process is really fast, and we saw what he did at Ohio State with elite weapons. Like Joe and CJ, ironically, in college had like the craziest of receivers, and look how their careers happened in that situation. Now, I know the NFL is a different game, but I do think levels of receivers does matter, and it is a fair argument to bring up. Like Joe Burrow is not walking out there with, like you said, a Josh Allen thing of weapons and a Lamar thing of weapons, and he's just like, I would always. But see, we've never seen Joe in that light, so it's hard to argue it. But it's like I think a lot of guys could come into that situation, especially with those two receivers, and cook up. Because, like, if we just said CJ, then I still think he could cook up. But a lot of the other guys we talk about, they're all pretty decent athletes, so they can get out of trouble by timing. Like you said, if you had like a Lamar or Josh with those weapons, they'd be throwing for 6,500 yards.
Oh, of course.
So it's like
run. Like Stroud and Burrow, I would actually argue, are kind of the same.
Burrow might be a better athlete.
He's probably a better.
He might be a better athlete.
I think Stroud would actually do worse potentially there, or about the same, because this year
it's hard to do,
and even last year, it's been his decision making, man. His vision and what he's seeing on the field, man.
He's definitely regressed.
Is he seeing ghosts, man? Like, I don't know if he's Sam Darnolding, but I don't know. I'm more concerned about Stroud, but I agree that the Bengals put too many eggs in one basket with Burrow and his weapons, and that screwed their team. And yeah, it's his injuries as well, but like, I think but his injuries necessarily might not have happened if they had invested their money in different places. I think that's what I'm trying to say.
But I think Joe wanted that. There's no way Joe.
I agree. You can blame Joe for it, but they weren't listening to him when he was 20 doing that. Maybe the Jamar.
I think they listened. They should have took the. And it's so hard to say this because Jamar's gonna be a Hall of Famer, but they should have taken the tackle. You got a franchise quarterback. They could have got whatever receivers that came after Jamar Chase, and I know they're not a famer, but you could have got whatever receiver and paired them with T. Higgins, and they probably would have been at multiple, like at least another Super Bowl.
That's exactly what the Chargers did.
Yeah, they could have taken.
But guess who is head coach? Their head coach is John Harbaugh, which nobody's saying the Chargers is this crazy competent franchises, but you got the Jim Harbaugh in there. He knows football, so he knows. Like I said, doesn't matter. He's going to draft the lineman and look how it's sprouting. Like you got Keenan Allen coming back, you got Ladd who's going to probably kick.
And they passed on Neighbor
Johnston.
They passed on Malik Neighbor.
And look at the franchises. Like Neighbor said, like it. I totally think with the Giants, it is a Giants organization thing, and maybe Dayball, because it's like, look at Daniel Jones. Like he said, it ain't the quarterback. It's the scheme, it's the offense, it's the franchise.
Yeah,
that's what's going on. So
I'm just happy to hear that it's not a Bears player saying that for once, man. Jesus Christ, man.
Well, I don't think they're going to be saying that.
It is true though. Organizations
is competent,
and I would argue the Bengals are maybe even more incompetent as an organization than the Chicago Bears.
Oof. And too, like you said, they're cheap, so there is. Now it's going to be like this Henderson thing is embarrassing. It's just all around. They're not one of the more. They are similar to the Cowboys in terms of the Cowboys, obviously a little bit more credible, but it's like. I think, and I know with ownership ties, it goes to the family. I get it. But it's like I think certain people in the fan base and probably brass who are hoping for a quick, I don't want to be graphic, but a quick changeover to happen so they can get fresh blood in there and maybe change the fortunes of the franchises. Because it's not, and as much as I talk about Burrow getting hurt, it's not often that you get franchise quarterbacks. So once you have them, the years that you do have, you need to figure out how to win. So, salute to the Cincinnati Bengals, Houston Texans. Hopefully they can turn around. We'll see what happens with that. But
ugly.
It's gonna be tough sledding. I will say that. But speaking of tough sledding, these bets that we had. I don't know how you guys did, but we can go ahead and get into that. P-Bush, you can start us off with.
Well, CeeDee Lamb was in pretty much every one of my lineups, so that's the only one that I didn't have him in. Funny enough, I ran a Caleb Rome stack. And I picked George Pickens and Ferguson over him. So it ended up being well, you guys are going to get a kick out of this. Obviously, Bijan was my other high-price pick last week. I had a little bit of shares of him. Hey, man, for putting up 0 points and still having a floor of 14 half-point PPR, hey, man, I'll take that. But Jesus Christ, man, the Caleb Williams Rome Odunze was just beautiful. I wish he would have had that one that he dropped on the goal line.
Oh, yeah.
Got hit there at the end. That would have been really nice. But you guys are going to get a kick out of this one, man. My second highest paying lineup, Tyrod Taylor, Garrett Wilson stack, man. Jesus. Unbelievable. because he was like 4K and he put up like 19 fantasy points. So he almost 5x'd his salary. And at that point, you were able to afford some other quality pieces. But CD really gutted me. He gutted a lot of people this week. He was one of the biggest chalk plays for sure. But going into this week, man, there's not as juicy of lineups. I'd say there's a few. Tampa, Philly, we were just talking about Tampa. I could see that being a little bit of a defensive game. Baltimore, Kansas City, once again, that could be a slugfest or it could be a shootout. It's really hard to predict those ones sometimes, especially with how Kansas City plays now. Indiana Jones versus Matt Stafford, that could be an interesting game a little bit there. But the one I'm going to target, I mentioned this to you guys pre-production, is my Bears versus the Raiders, man. You got two teams that are just kind of playing with house money right now. They really got – I know you guys, the Bears have so much pressure on them, whatever. Yeah, I know. They're playing Vegas, man. Like, this is not like a huge game, right? Like the Lions game, I get it. They got their butts whooped, and rightfully so. But this is a Vegas game. I think they're going to play a lot looser, out of division, out of conference as well. So I'm fine bringing a Caleb Rome stack back. If you want to fit DJ Moore in there as well, Rome did have a huge price jump this week, man. He's up more expensive than Brian Thomas Jr. I will say that right now.
Well deserved, because Brian Thomas drops a lot, man. Oh my God,
Sir drops a lot. Yeah.
God dang.
You should change your team name to that too. Now that CD's hurt, Sir drops a lot. You know, that's with Brian Thomas on there. But yeah, man. I mean, and then funny, you know, we were talking about him earlier as well. But the bring back, I'm going Trey Tucker, man. And I know a lot of people hate chasing games, right? Chasing games like, oh, he dropped 40 PPR points. Okay. Yeah, but he's got 20 targets in the first 3 games. This is not just like a fluke random 10-target game, right? He's actually getting quality looks. We talked about it. Bauer's not 100%. Jacoby Myers garners a lot of attention. So this Trey Tucker guy, you know, and George Pickens was getting open. You know, Bears are missing a lot of key corners right now, 2 of their top 3. It's wide open there. So that's a game I'm targeting. You could start Geno as well. I think it's not a bad start at a cheaper price. Daniel Jones, Mahomes, Jalen Hurts, all fine plays. I'm not interested in Josh Allen this week against the Saints, but I am all in on James Cook. Let me tell you that right now. I think he's going to have a feast fest. I also really like Omari and Hampton against the Giants. No Najee Harris. Great positive game script for him. A lot cheaper at $5,900 compared to James Cook at $7,100. So those are my top 2 this week. And then on the wide receiver front, I know we just talked about him, man, but you said this, man. You got the Titans in front of you if you're the Texans. Give me Nico Collins, man. This is a division game that they have to win. If they lose this game, their season's over, right? You're losing to Cam Ward. So this is a must-win game. I think Nico Collins does what he has to do as a yak guy. And then lastly, Mr. Quiet wide receiver, man, right here. No one's talking about him that much on a fantasy front. Ricky Pearsall, man. Top 5 in yardage so far. Wow. I mean, that's just ridiculous. He's getting 100-yard games. I know it's only 3 games, small sample size, but that's all we got to work on so far. I don't mind playing him as well. And lastly, give me Hunter Henry, man. I love that. That could be an interesting game. Panthers, Patriots, just a garbage time, kind of random little shootout kind of game. Could definitely see some points coming out of there. It's just really hard to pick out of Patriots wide receivers. So I always just tend to lean on good old Hunter Henry, man.
He might be the number 1 target.
For sure.
Yeah, because Hunter Henry was very, very effective last
especially week. With all the fumbling.
Oh, yeah, Ramondre, Gibson, the running back situation is pretty atrocious right now. Pretty atrocious. So, okay, yeah. I know you mentioned CD sunk a lot of your hopes and dreams in your lineups, but CD also sunk my pick last week, because ever since CD got injured, that Dallas offense is not the same without CD Lamb. Like, CD Lamb has that ability of, when he's on one-on-one coverage, he's kind of unguardable. Like, he just kind of, like, he might drop the ball, but he's going to get open. So as Dak's favorite target, like, the minute he messed up his ankle, Jake Ferguson had to be the guy that they rely on, and that offense couldn't keep up with the Chicago Bears offense. And when I picked Dallas Cowboys money line, I thought it was going to be a back-and-forth shootout. Like, Caleb Williams held up his end of the bar, and he had his shootout. Dak couldn't do it, obviously, without his receiver one. So I think that definitely impacted the scoring, because even though the Chicago Bears definitely played a lot better than I thought, like, they definitely moved the ball really, really easy. And I think every team has moved it kind of easy. Like we saw the Giants move it easy against this Cowboys defense. So,
Eagles had the hardest time.
Yeah,
they did.
Exactly. Yeah, divisional rival. You guys play a little hard on defense, but outside of that, like the defense looking like Swiss cheese, especially the secondary. Like everybody's getting open looks right now, so everybody taking advantage. But a shout out to the Bears. They took care of business. They absolutely demolished my Dallas Cowboys pick because my goodness, the minute CD got out, like the offense, like they weren't even that effective. They had some garbage time yards with Dak, but man, shout out to the Chicago Bears for getting it done because I was definitely not a believer in them last week. Definitely not a believer. This week, I need to get back on track right now, and I'm gonna ride with the team. I'm gonna pick a team over a 3-0 team. I'm picking the Los Angeles Rams to cover the spread, -3.5 against the Colts.
Yeah.
I like this Rams team is absolutely legit because I think coming in the year, we all had Stafford's injury. He looks fine to me right now. Like he's kind of looks like Stafford from last year. Like he is throwing the ball around. Like Devontae Adams, like he's actually getting integrated as a very heavy like red zone target. Like if you watch these games right now, Devontae Adams is very involved in the red zone right now. And he's still like Devontae Adams still looks pretty good. He had a couple of drops actually, but he still looks like a very, very effective receiver too right now. Like, he's the receiver too because Puka Nacua, my God, this guy has not even scored a touchdown this year, but his production as a receiver is at another level. He's getting 10 plus receptions, close to 100 yards a game. Like this guy's on efficiency level. Like he's having a historic season where his like yards per route run and all his data right now is like close to Antonio Brown and Tyreek Hill's like career seasons.
Virtuoso
seasons. Like Puka Nacua's statistics is just, oh my God, this guy's a 6th round pick. And right now he's looking
he's wild.
Like
it's wild.
Like it is wild how good he was. And obviously his rookie year, like, oh my God, his rookie year. But even last year he got injured. But when he came back, he was phenomenal. Absolutely. The only thing with him is the injury concern because the way he plays is very injury prone. But right now in his 3 games, he's healthy right now. His quarterback's healthy right now. He's producing at another level. And with that Eagles game, that was an absolute Goliath of a matchup. And that game could have gone either way. Obviously, the Eagles were able to make one more play that got them the W. But this Rams team is absolutely legit. And I feel like this Colts team, I'm going to say it's a cute story, man. It's a cute story with Indiana Jones. It's a cute story. I love it. Like Danny Dimes' resurgence year. The old linemen, they're like
feels like Sam Darnold all over again.
It kind of does. Like you got news about like the new owners. Like everybody's like the new owners on the field. Everybody's happy. Like Danny Dimes is real happy. Like life is great. Michael Pittman, like Jonathan Taylor's having his greatest season ever. Okay, let's play against the Los Angeles Rams on the road. Good luck against a real contending team because, like, in this the Los Angeles Rams, they are legit right now.
Yes, sir.
Defensively, like, they're phenomenal. Like, offensively, Stafford is healthy, and the weapons, Kyron still got some juice. Even the Blake Corum, like, he's a really good backup running back. So they don't really have any holes on offense, in my opinion.
Their red zone has been an issue. That's what lost them the game in the Eagles, man. They settled for too many field goals.
Yeah,
I do think that's the only issue that they have.
Yeah, I think they'll get that figured out. Like
they will.
Plays with Devontae, especially Devontae Adams. They're still getting that chemistry up, but he's primarily been the red zone target. Like this is the one thing I always said. Puka is great, but they don't really use him in red zone situations, which I'm like, okay, sure, whatever. Like Devontae's that dude, but there were a couple of passes like Devontae missed it, and they target him a lot. And Kyrie Williams is still a smaller back, so I don't think he's the greatest red zone guy. That's why they got Blake Corum there too. But I feel like against this Colts team where they're 3-0, they look awesome. Like they're gonna start off 4-0 this year against the Rams. I don't think so. 3.5 with a high scoring over under 49.5. So I'm imagining a high octane game. Like I saw 49.5. I'm like very, very interesting. So give me -3.5 in the LA Rams. I'm taking the better team at home and -3.5. I would have loved 2.5 if it was there. But I'll take the -3.5 right now.
I was gonna say that's
against Indiana Jones right now, but it's a great story. I gotta say it's an amazing story.
And they still might win the division even if they lose this game. Let's be honest.
Absolutely.
Based on that division.
Absolutely.
They might be running away with that division. And it's crazy to say that considering where we all had our picks. But yeah, that was, I mean, the Rams, I just felt like that was just kind of I was so confident watching that game. I was like, the Rams are going to pull this out.
Yeah.
Just because it's like, who blocks field goals? Like, no, like that. If you just had to do a tally of how many blocked field goals happen throughout the season, it's probably not even 10, right?
Under 10, yeah.
Yeah, probably under 5. But it's just Eagles, Rams, and it kind of almost feels like this is turning into like a little mini rivalry with just like how close these games are. And it's like, I'll be able to maybe confirm that even more if they make it into the playoffs and stuff. And they're having like a divisional round game or a conference championship round game matchup. But
rematch.
Yeah, that gutted me. Yeah, rematch for sure. Rematch. So that gutted me where, the +3.5 and then Jordan Davis.
That's the worst beat ever.
That was insane, man.
Are you kidding me?
Yeah, that was tough. And then, because also too, like I think when we were talking about like that second leg of that parlay, it's like we were kind of thinking about the Giants. Either you're going to take the spread or the under. Well, of course, the Giants and Chiefs hit the under. So it's like if the Giants and Chiefs would have hit the under, and then the Rams make that field goal, that was a pretty decent payday. Because I think the odds were like +388, 389. Like it was pretty nice odds. So it was just like on a 2-leg, I think. So that is football for you.
That
is
a miracle. Betting. That ending was. I was like, whoa, what just happened?
And imagine if you had the Eagles to cover that game.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
I would have been like,
the highs and lows big fella. And that's the funny thing, man.
And Sean was hoping for a Daniel Jones tripping moment there at the end.
Yeah.
When the big man rumbling down.
I was just like, it's whatever. But, it was a good game. So it's like,
it was a great game.
But going into this week, man, Dude was talking about the Colts and the Rams. And it's like, I don't have the gumption to pick like the Rams straight up or not Rams, but the Colts straight up. Cause it's just like part of me a little bit in the back of my head, it feels like a cute story, but I will say it's progressing to being this is phenomenal for the Colts. And like, it might end up being, cause I don't know Daniel Jones' age, but it might end up being something where it's like, oh, we maybe could do something with him further on down the road. It's very, very early. So we have to reserve judgment, but Shane Steichen, it was a reason why, he wanted to pair with Anthony Richardson and he wanted to do a bunch of different creative stuff because he's a hell of a play caller and he's a guy who was one of the up-and-coming coaches. So I will say that, I don't think there's a chance the Colts get blown out. So I do think it could be more of a closer game. I like the 3.5 from a Colts perspective. If you want to go out there and say they can win that, just ride the momentum, because to the point, I know the conversations around Daniel Jones in that offense, but the defense for the Colts they're pretty salty. So like it's not on the Rams level, but Stafford, I think is him and Puka and those guys they're gonna have a time trying to get at least sustained drives. I'm not gonna say they're not gonna score, but sustained drives. So I kind of like them. I think it's like +3.5. As part of this 2-leg parlay. Then I was kind of deciding between two guys, not guys, but teams. I'm looking at the first one that I put down is like the Detroit Lions versus the Cleveland Browns. And this is strictly because of just vibes of like Detroit just went on the road against Baltimore, won this crazy Monday night game, back and forth. They made a statement. And then I'm looking at the Browns. They beat the Packers, and they mainly beat the Packers because of that defense, which has the best defensive end in football in Myles Garrett. +8.5. I'm looking at more of the Lions being like, it's the Browns, whatever. If we're down 4 points at halftime, we'll kick it up in the second half because we have better talent. But with this Browns defense, it's not just going to be a walk in the park. And I will say the Lions are – they probably got a top 2 to 3 roster, so they got more depth, especially on the offensive side, than other teams do. Especially, I would say, probably more than the Packers. But I don't know, man. It's just the highs of Detroit. The Browns, they're starting Joe Flacco. Everybody, I think, just kind of underestimate him. Look at Green Bay last week. I think that defense is really salty, and +8.5, I think the Browns could cover that, especially if the Lions come in like sleepwalking. Because like you said, you're beating the Ravens. That's kind of a team where you're comparing yourself to, especially after last year, they got spanked by the Ravens. So they're kind of motivated. It's like, okay, we got our get back. Maybe there's a little bit of a sleepwalk there. And then the other one, man, it's like, this is just kind of like this might be an overreaction, but looking at the Panthers, man, like, I know the Falcons, bro, they dominated the hell out of the Falcons. Like, what was the stat I saw? It was like they didn't even cross like the 30 or something like that. The Falcons,
Probably not.
It was something crazy.
Oh my God.
And I know Penix had a really bad game. I still have faith in him, but sometimes that just happens. But I'm looking at them going on the road against the Patriots, like 5.5 plus 5.5. The Patriots are not. I feel like that's like a 2.5 point spread. I don't think the Patriots are just that much better than the Panthers. And I don't know. Bryce is still in that phase of we got to wait and see. But Ted, if you just saw some of his 9 catches, dude, he is an athlete. Like you could just throw it wherever and he's going to figure out how to catch it. So he's looking like if Bryce can start making some moves in terms of being a real quarterback, he's got a receiver one. He's just got to get on the ball consistently, and we'll see about that. But plus, having that, so I'm deciding.
I like the first two, Sean. Stick with your first two.
Yeah. Like the Panthers is more for like if I wanted to do that one, it's just pick a money line or just don't mess with it because it's a little bit better odds. But like
I think it's a good game. Like I think it's a good fantasy game. I think you'll get good points out of both sides of the ball, but picking that game is going to be very hard. I think I wouldn't be confident picking the Patriots either. I think I would just like be like, okay, I'll just start Chuba Hubbard and Drake May. And there you go.
Start Chuba, maybe Tet if you're at a pinch as a flex. But
exactly.
Yeah. So with the Colts, I got them plus 3.5, minus 108, and then Browns minus 105 with plus 8.5. That puts me at 276. If you were to do the let's go down a little bit. If you were to do the Carolina Panthers at plus 5.5, that puts you at 267. Or if you got them to just do plus 205 to put you at plus 407, but 2 hour point, like that's tough. If you pick that Panthers game, that's rolling the dice because, I mean, the Falcons, I don't want to say they're that bad. And it's a division game, and sometimes it gets wonky, but Michael Penix, I think, attributed to the Panthers being as good as they were. So, like I said, just sticking with those first two in that 2-leg parlay. Like I said, the one I feel eerily confident about is that Colts and Rams one because
you guys are opposites.
I think I'm kind of buying. I think I'm buying into Daniel Jones, and it's Daniel Jones and the coach because he just looks like a different player with Steichen, and it's the reason why Steichen was getting a lot. I think we forgot about him because of how Anthony Richardson, his injuries, and how he played. We just kind of forgot about him as a head coach, but. Yeah, man, him getting there and his vision, I think he's seeing it with Daniel Jones, and there's a reason why he won the preseason battle. So I'm excited to see what they can do. That Rams defense is going to be tough, but I think, I almost wonder what, now that I'm thinking it through, like I wonder what the over-under is 49.5.
As we said, 49.5, yeah. Be careful because everyone was on the Cowboys and Bears over last week, and it did not hit. Now,
which is crazy because you thought it would have with all that.
CD was healthy, it probably would.
I think CD was the game changer. Like that gives him 10 targets a game.
But to your point, I'm just as confident on both sides of your guys' bet. I could see the Colts doing well, but I could see them completely collapse.
I think that's an under game.
I'm waiting for that regression.
I think that's an under game because I do think both defenses are going to come to play.
Yeah,
like I don't think Stafford's going to go off
like a 24-20 kind of game. Just to you guys can pick which side.
And the Rams defense, like you saw what their game plan was to slow down Saquon, and you're going against this rushing attack against Jonathan Taylor. I feel like that's gonna be the game plan, and force Danny Dimes to beat you with dimes. So I think that's gonna be the game plan.
There you go.
Yeah, so that could happen. So I feel confident with those bets. Like I said last week, it really still stung because I just thought I had that one in the bag. But
that is the worst,
like you said, man,
possible in the last second of the game.
It just happens.
A walk off.
Yeah, walk off.
That doesn't
literally
happen. That's like once in 1,000 games. Like,
that
was actually like, what the hell just happened?
Or if you were one of the like 1 billion people or dollars that was put on the Packers money line, they had a 38-yard field goal to win the game, man.
Yeah.
Brutal.
That's why I like that Browns, man. The Browns defense, it's just it is
rigged.
They just gotta get it. God, if the Browns could just find not even have to be decent, just an okay quarterback, man, they would be such a game changer because Myles Garrett and like I think Myles Garrett's probably got like 4 or 5 more years of like pretty good production. So it's like, dude, him being on the field is just changing everything. Yeah, they did pay him. So we'll see. But like I said, that's the ups and downs of betting. Make sure you guys are tuned in to Quantro Knows on YouTube, Tyson Talks _ on Instagram and TikTok. If you're on Spotify or Apple, make sure you give us a 5-star review. If you have any comments you want to share with us, questions, make sure you write them in there so I can get them on the podcast. And for me, Zoo, and P. Bush, we are